Hello, it's Dave at VTR, and today I'm back at my restoration station, and we have two fantastic Bond figures. First we have Jaws with a magnetic mouth. What an awesome figure this is. And we also have Bond himself, Roger Moore. It seems that the Mego heads were made out of a certain plastic, and over 40 years some sciencey stuff has happened, and there's not much you can do, they just go grey. And you can clearly see Superman has a decent skin tone, and poor old Bond, yes, well, he's suffering a bit. As a collector, I just thought you have to live with grey head syndrome. I guess you could paint them, but I really didn't want to do that. But there is hope, and it's about now I should give credit to two other channels out there. The first is the Gaming Toy Boy. He watched my last live stream where I showed Bond, and he sent me a message afterwards saying it is possible to restore the colour, and he pointed me to another channel called Marchant, and he has videos that show Mego figures and restorations, and one particular video shows how to restore the colour on these faces. So I have to thank both of these channels. I'll put links in the description below. Go check them out and give them a subscribe. Let's just talk about the process very quickly. It requires two products. The first is this wet and black tyre dressing, and the second product, which is really the main product, is called Plastidip. This is the red coloured Plastidip. This is often used to put plastic handles on pliers, for example. Now, the first thing I'm going to need to do is take the heads off of these figures. I can't wait to see what this looks like once it's done. And I know Bond in particular is fed up of his grey head, and he's really looking forward to getting his good head.
Well, Mr. Bond, I guess we'd better get started.
Okay, I'm down at my workbench in the garage. I've got the doors open for plenty of ventilation. As you can see, I've got the two heads on the sticks. Originally I thought I would do both at the same time, but I'm going to be patient. I'm going to start with Bond's head, and then I can use Jaws as a reference to see how the colour is changing over time. It's probably going to take a few goes to get to the colour that we're happy with. The first stage of this process is to spray the tyre dressing all over the head. Now, I believe this stage is required so that when we apply the Plastidip later on and it dries, we actually have a chance of removing the Plastidip, which is what we'll need to do. So let's get on and spray Bond. That's certainly covered him, and everything else as well. I think we're ready for stage 2. Sprayed that everywhere. God. I'm going to be dipping Bond's head into the Plastidip. I'm slightly apprehensive about this stage. I have a feeling it's going to take a few dips just to make sure it's fully covered, but let's go for it. We can see from that first dipping it hasn't quite covered properly, but that's okay, we'll give it another go. Still need to dip again. The more I do this, the more I'll find a decent technique. It may be that I sprayed too much of the wet and black on there, but we'll see, we're learning as we go along. Definitely having trouble covering evenly. I believe this stuff takes a while to dry, like 24 hours, so I'll just leave this to run a little bit and then we'll dip again. Let's just having trouble covering on the back there. It's quite a messy job actually. Let that run again. It's getting there. This side's great. It's just a little bit on this side. I'm going to give it one more dip. Okay, so his face looks covered. I'm just letting this run. I've given Bond one more coating. He looks to be nicely covered now. So I think what happens is essentially, as you can see, this is very red, this Plastidip. So I think what's happening is that the Plastidip will dye the grey plastic of the head. So when this dries tomorrow and we peel off the Plastidip, we'll see if it's made a difference. I really hope so. This is quite a messy job. It's the next day, I'm back at the restoration station. The Plastidip has had a chance now to dry. Very, very funny looking Bond we have now. But the next stage is to remove this Plastidip. I'm hoping it's going to come off cleanly. There's only one way to find out. Well, the Plastidip came off in one piece, so that's pretty cool. At least I know that it's easy to remove this. Let's have a look though at the result. This is the all-important bit. That is not bad for a first attempt. You can definitely see that Roger Moore now has a skin tone. It is slightly uneven. You can see there are patches which haven't taken quite as well as others, but that's okay. This technique apparently does require a few rounds, so I will have another go. Let's just compare him to Jaws, our reference head. Look at that, what a difference. So, I am now going to give this one more round of applying the Plastidip. For this application of the Plastidip, I'm going to slightly refine my technique. We're learning as we go. So first of all, I'm going to spray this wet and black tire dressing on my cloth rather than directly onto the head, and this way I can get a little bit more control over where I'm applying this wet and black. That looks like it's covered nicely, and also this time I'm going to let this dry first before I apply the Plastidip. That's covered nicely. We'll let that dry. Now, rather than dipping the head directly into the can, I'm going to have a go at brushing on the Plastidip to the head. I have no idea if this is going to work. The Plastidip is quite thick, but let's find out. It's going onto the brush quite nicely. Yeah, I can get that right in, make sure I've got an even covering. Let's see how that looks. That seems to have covered quite nicely. It's gone on better with the brush than I thought it was going to. I'm just going to let that dry a little bit and then potentially put another layer on, but we'll see how that goes. Right, as we can see, that seems to have covered very, very nicely. My only slight concern is around here where I've got those very thin sort of edges. I just hope that when this is all dried, I can pull those off and they're not going to be a pain to remove. All right, all we've got to do now is just sit back, relax and wait. Over the past few days, I've repeated the process, and I can tell you one thing, it's so satisfying pulling off this Plastidip from the heads. It's just like pulling the fresh plastic off of a brand new TV or your phone. I think this is going to be the last one. So, let's see how they look. And here's the mask of Jaws. This Plastidip is amazing stuff. I'm pretty sure it can be used in all sorts of applications when it comes to toy restoration. Anyway, enough of this stuff. We want to see the reveal. Has it worked? Well, let's start with Roger Moore, James Bond. And I think the resounding answer is yes. I am so happy with the result. Let's just compare him to Superman. The skin tone is incredible. I didn't have to repaint anything either. I didn't have to touch up the hair or the eyebrows or the eyes. This technique works really, really well. Let's just take a quick look at the before and after. As you can see, he was really grey to start out with. This is an amazing transformation. Okay, let's have a look at Jaws. Has it worked on him as well? The answer is yes. Look at that. Let's just remember how he looked to start with. He was even greyer than Bond, but look at that transformation. Incredible. I am so happy with the result. He's going to look great on display. I always thought there was no fix for grey head syndrome, so I've got to once again thank the Gaming Toy Boy and Ian Marchant for their pointers and techniques for removing the grey. Go check out their channels and subscribe. And if you have any Mego figures with grey heads, 12 inch, 8 inch, I don't think it matters, then try out this technique. It's not that difficult and the results are astounding. Thanks for making it this far. Leave a comment, like and subscribe, or try some of these other VTR classics. Until next time, stay safe and cheers.